Hey, listen in. If you're still strapping your expensive camera to your neck with a flimsy strap that looks like more fashion than function, congrats, you're living on the edge. But hey, if you'd rather not risk turning your camera gear into a pile of broken dreams, then maybe, just maybe, check out Cotton Carrier Camera Carrying System. You can carry on living dangerously, or you can carry gear safe and sound with cottoncarrier.com. While you're in there, use code BTW10 for a 10% discount on anything found on the website. cottoncarrier.com.
Beyond the Wild.
It's still too light outside. That's, in the summer months, I don't have a way to darken my room like Ron does. But
Well, I don't either. I got the sun blasting me in the side of the head now. So it's going to be an epic highlight with all this fiber optic I got going on up here.
You're glowing.
Yeah. Only on one side, though. It's like the angel on one shoulder, dark
Totally.
on the other.
reminds me of that soul glow,
Yes.
Let your soul glow.
I know I'm aging myself, but
Yeah, no. You know what's sad is I just watched that movie the other day.
did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I just, out of sheer boredom and not being able to fall asleep, sat there and watched Coming to America.
That'll
And
do it.
I forgot just how bad those movies were.
Oh boy, I know.
Some better than others.
Very few of them hold their weight. You know what I mean? Some of them do.
Yeah.
There's a few, but yeah. I've done that
Anyway.
multiple times. Take the kids back to watch something that I thought was awesome when I was
Oh
a
my
kid or
gosh.
something, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I can't. I'm sorry, guys, this is terrible.
I will say one of my all-time favorites, though, The Great Outdoors, does hold up.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
So, trying to bring us back on task.
Yeah,
A couple things.
We're all
First
yappers.
we are.
of all, yeah. So, first of all, welcome back, Deirdre.
Thank you.
And those of you who don't know who Deirdre is, Deirdre DENALI on Instagram. Deirdre Rosenberg is who we're talking with tonight. And she's been a guest before, kind of left some cliffhangers, had a lot of projects going on, so we'll hear a little bit about those. But Jason, we just got back from PhotoEx
We
at
did.
Pictureline. And what an event. What'd you think?
That was incredible. I was really grateful and surprised at the support that we had. We kicked off with a bang, and lots of people filled the chairs, filled the whole room up. Had a great time presenting and sharing some of our thoughts on things, and got to hear some incredible speakers. The folks that we got to meet, they just have incredible stories, incredible imagery. And it was awesome to just meet so many followers and other photographers and, just other people that share the same passion we do. So, yeah, Ron, I couldn't have asked for a better event, in my opinion. I can't wait for the next one, right? So,
Yeah. No, it was fun. We made some great contacts. You guys will get to hear some of them. We got to hang out in the Canon USA booth, and that turned out to be a problem
yeah, it did.
because Jason and I shot a lens that we didn't really give a lot of credence to for wildlife, but oh boy, you'll hear more about that later. But thank you to
We can talk a
Pictureline.
little bit about it.
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
can.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm like sitting here
Okay.
wondering what it is.
So, Deirdre, what do you shoot?
I shoot OM system.
Okay, see, this is not going to cost you any money, so that's good. So, Jason and I shot just kind of curious because we were headed to Alaska this summer, and this is a lens that both of us were going to, in different ways, both of us were going to end up taking along. the 100 to 300 f2.8 from Canon. It's newer. It's made with the new polymers and plastics, and it's a ton lighter than like the 2 to 4. But then I got kind of curious because I've heard a lot of great things about the RF teleconverter, and I've not been a teleconverter guy in the past, especially a 2X, because it does diminish your image quality. So Jason and I grabbed it and grabbed the 2X and went outside and spent some money. I've got a whole bunch of lenses for sale right now. So if you need anything Canon, give me a call. I could probably hook you up.
Amazing.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you throw the 2X on that thing and you're at, now I got to do the math.
200 to 600
600 millimeter 5.6, which is, I mean, that's really good. And the image quality was shocking. I mean,
shocking.
At 2X, I was blown away. So, and the cool thing is, like Ron said, that the 1 to 300 actually weighs less than the 400 even.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
New lens technology is absolutely going off with the low weights.
Absolutely.
It's spectacular.
It's nuts. And the OM system that you shoot, that takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's why I shoot with it, because I can backpack with it and it's not so bad. But yeah, that's super cool. How was the shake with the teleconverter?
None.
Yeah.
The image stabilization built into that lens, and then of course combined with the image stabilization built into the R5 Mark II. I took pictures of it. It wasn't low light, but it was lower light. Took pictures of a guy walking toward me, and literally, I mean, it maintained focus the whole time he closed distance, and you could literally see the detail in every pore on his face. And I feel bad for that guy because we were looking at the detail in the pores on his face, but
they will never be published, just so you know.
It will never be published, and it told us what we needed to know.
Yeah,
totally. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine in 5 years from now?
I don't want to, because that'll cost me more money. So I can't.
Right.
I can't use my imagination much more at this point.
Yeah. That's a powerful combination, though, if you think about it. You've got all the ranges covered from 100 to 600 with a couple teleconverters and, one lens. So
yeah,
pretty incredible.
And the old teleconverters seem to have a little play. They were weather sealed. They had the rubber grommet in them, but there tended to be a little bit of play. When we put this thing on, it was like locked down, super tight. And I think that's probably what makes the difference in the optic quality.
Interesting.
Is having that tight fit on the connection, and man alive, it's crazy.
Makes the trip more exciting, huh?
Oh, for sure.
It kind of does, yeah.
No
question.
Makes the trip a lot lighter. One lens trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Almost. I'll probably take 24 to 105 just in case, but that lens is amazing, and that combination, holy smokes. So that's all I have to say about that for now.
Our friends at Pictureline are very good at helping us spend our money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you guys were in really good company at PhotoEx. I have shot with Christy before, so I was excited that you guys were presenting with her. That's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a really neat lineup.
Yeah.
Had Christy and then Colby Brown.
Yeah.
Cody Conk.
Cody Conk.
Yep.
Cody's a Tamron ambassador.
Okay.
Landscape guy, but phenomenal guy. And we're probably going to have him on. Cody actually presented on the business of photography. And
I picked up a lot of good stuff from it.
It was a great presentation, and it's questions that we get asked all the time. And he kind of nailed it, when he was responding to that kind of a view of photography. I thought it was really good. And just all three of them, real genuine people and just fun to hang out with and super accommodating. Actually had dinner with Christy and her husband right before I left. Jason had to go to a birthday party.
Grandkids.
But yeah, great people. And, all four brands represented with that crew. So it was good representative sample, I guess, of the industry. And yeah, can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mentioned before, and I mentioned on the last podcast, I think too, but still it was weird. We had a panel discussion on Saturday, which was really fun, and had to answer questions. That they had some pre-canned questions for us, and then just audience questions. And sitting on the panel with folks like Christy and Colby and Cody, very experienced, very, they're full time in the business, every one of them, and it a little imposter syndrome for sure for me. It still hasn't worn off. It's like feel very fortunate to be a part of it for sure.
That imposter syndrome takes a while, huh?
I don't know if it will ever go away for me. I don't know.
You're doing big things. It'll definitely go away at some point, or at least get better. I mean, you're like doing really big things. It's super neat.
Oh, well, thank you. I think we're excited, and we do our thing, and I won't ever let it slow me down. Don't get me wrong. It's not one of those things where it'll ever stop me from doing anything. But I definitely look up to some of these people and what they're able to create and how they approach their business and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we were fortunate to be there.
Yeah,
Ron does not have any imposter syndrome. Ron.
Well, that's because I don't fancy myself. It's just the kind of the way I've gone through life. When I was in 8th grade, I went to this football camp, and there were 2 players from the San Diego Chargers, and I didn't know who they were. So I went out there and we played football, and I went at those guys as hard as I went at the guys my age, and I just don't ever let it really bother me.
I feel like you're maybe like me a little bit oblivious. And so you just live in a little bit of bliss about it.
Yeah. You just do your thing. And, and there's definitely envious of some of the images that those guys get. There's Christy, she's known this for a long time, but she's got this whale shark image that we will show when we have her on the show. But it is the most stunning image I've ever seen. It's all these sun rays coming down from like 360 degrees straight down and illuminate this whale shark. That it was wide angles, so it's hard to say how deep it was, but good grief. It was gorgeous. And I've loved that shot for a long time.
Yeah.
And then,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The macro stuff that Colby does, and then the landscape. Yeah, it was. Cody is a phenomenal landscape photographer, and does a lot of commercial stuff as well. So, not taking anything away, but I feel the same way about Jason. He's, so we've all gotten fortunate and been blessed to be in the places that we've been in. Some of us have just been in a few more.
Yeah, well said.
But so, Deirdre, what do you have going on now? Currently.
So right now I am kind of between trips. So I am working on my San Juan Mountains project, which is essentially kind of like my lifelong project. And it's to document every single square mile of the San Juan mountain range, which is one of the southernmost portions of the Rocky Mountains where I live. So I'm working on that, and that takes a lot of backpacking because almost all of this range doesn't have trails or roads or anything like that. It's almost all wilderness. So I kind of have a million trips from, we'll call it May through November. And the times that I'm not working on that, I'm working on my Pika project, which all takes place in the San Juan Mountains as well. And basically that's trying to find as many Pika colonies as I possibly can in this range, knowing that most people can never access the places that I'm accessing. And so I'm able to work with wildlife biologists and folks like that to give them data on how climate is impacting American pikas as an indicator species. And then I also decided I didn't have enough projects. And so I am doing a very similar thing in the Sangre de Cristo range, which is across the San Luis Valley and up and over the Continental Divide, to kind of see what they've got going on, because that's actually the southernmost Rocky Mountain subrange that drops down into New Mexico, and I'm obsessed, and I need to know everything. So I'm just backpacking like crazy, and it's just like couldn't be better, but it's very hard work, and I get really tired of eating backpacking food. So that's what I have going on right now. Lots of backpacking, lots of trips.
So when you're working with a biologist on these colonies, are you mapping then? Do they give you GPS and you mapping like the outskirts, so to speak, of the
Pretty
colonies?
much.
Is that
So I have pretty much 3 tasks to do. I save where I'm at, where the colonies are on a map for them. And then I try to gather data of if it's an active Pika colony, currently active, or if it's an abandoned colony, which essentially, this is what's very important to the biologists, is if it's abandoned, are wood rats living there? Because that means that the wood rats have taken over the territory from the Pikas, which is becoming a really big problem. And then I kind of look for signs of bones and try to gather as much like field data in that way as I can, like gathering like natural materials. I get like a poop sample, take measurements if I can find anything to take measurements of. And there's a couple wildlife biologists that have pikas and wood rats and alpine critters as like their specialty. And those are the biologists that I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be probably a very dumb question, but what is a wood rat? I honestly, I don't think I probably have seen one maybe, but I don't.
No, you probably haven't. So they are, and I'm going to give a really stupid answer. They are just a kind of rat that lives out in the woods. And typically they have lived in like rocky areas in the woods. And they're rats. And so they're good at surviving. But with the influence of climate change and just different things going on in the habitat, they're able to move further up, upslope. And so they're able to survive in places they normally wouldn't be. They're largely nocturnal, and that's kind of why you would never see them. Gotcha. I think I've actually only seen one with my eyes during the day one time in all the time I've been out. And by all accounts from the biologists I talked to, they thought that was pretty rare to see just one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're little. They're just smaller than a Pika.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they're not killing them necessarily. They're just displacing them.
Yep. Pretty much taking over, making it harder for Pikas to be there.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard you talking about on a previous podcast. It was a Wildlife Conversations podcast, I think, where you talked about finding bones and stuff. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I have like oddly good luck with it. I think if you just kind of are able to understand the behaviors, you understand where they might go to die, right. And then nothing is really going to come scavenge them. Because it's just as easy to get a live one than a dead one.
Interesting.
Yeah. You've probably seen a wood rat. They're pack rats. They're the original pack rats, and we had them at the ranch all the time. They steal trade materials, but they'll just haul it off. And
I love rats. When I lived down in Arizona, we had a lot of pack rats. And they would live like at the base of dead saguaro cactuses and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're very cute. They're a little bit bigger than what I've seen in the talus down in Arizona. But,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Longer growing period. And yeah.
Yep.
That's probably what chewed a hole in my canvas tent when I was camping down on the boulders. But
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Could
woke
very
me up
well
in the
be.
middle of the night, and I got a nice little hole in my tent. Anyways, he was
Their
probably chewing the
their
material and
nests
taking it.
are
Yeah,
the nests are pretty obvious.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a big, it might be go into a hole, and so it's like a alluvial fan, right? Just all this material that narrows down into the hole that they're going into, but there's just this collection of stuff that
Yep.
it's crazy.
Yep. So that's what I'm looking for.
That's
cool.
awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we last time we talked about the Type 2 fun.
Yes.
You are. I don't know anybody that loves it as much as you do personally. I mean, and you. I don't know. It's a love-hate thing, right? For sure.
Definitely.
Again, I love watching your stories. If folks aren't following you and watching Deirdre's stories, you're just missing out because she documents so much of this so well. And I can't. Your last trip where you had to bail off the mountain, I could just see the sadness or the pout, if you will, on your face of I am so bummed that we have to leave. Yeah, but
Yeah. It's interesting. I was getting a backpack ready today for my next trip, and I was trying so hard to get this backpack under 40 pounds, doing everything that I could, and it's not going to be able to happen. And I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way, but there's times where it's just so much. And then like when you get snowed out, I'm fine doing all of it in snow, but when it becomes like whiteout conditions or whatever, and it just becomes like actually unsafe, it's like you work so incredibly hard to get to these places.
Right.
And this year we didn't have snow all winter long. And so I was doing stuff out in Utah, for a different project that's not happening right now. And then the moment that I started picking up my alpine work again, this spring, we got all of our snow for the year. All of a sudden, I think we ended up with like trackable 220 inches within 2 months. And then, we since then have gotten at least probably 6 more feet of snow in the past month.
Wow.
And so it makes it really hard, and just like I'm at a place like right now, honestly, where I'm a little bit discouraged and just frustrated with all of it, but working really hard to be positive, because my next trip, nothing will go wrong.
Hey, there
That
you
will
go.
be like the best.
I like
So
it. I like the attitude.
it's always that next trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been spending some time this spring down in the Canyonlands area, and I haven't spent a lot of time down in that specific area in the past much. And man, that place is incredible.
Nuts, right?
Wow, just so much to see, so many areas to, so much diversity, and yeah, it's incredible. But I mean, I remember you have that price. Is that some of the stuff you're going to be doing coming up? Is it focused on some of that? Do you
Canyonlands?
Do you have trips planned to float the river and do some of that stuff
Yep.
that you were talking about?
Yep. So I have a project that I'm calling Wild Hearts of Canyonlands. It's a little bit similar to what I did down in Arizona, where I'm basically trying to find as many species as I can through human-powered adventure. And so I'm going to be mountain biking, pack rafting, and backpacking, and probably doing like a little bit of more technical canyoneering, and hitting some places that just people don't really go. It's really hard to access. And really hoping to find all of these critters. And I mean, when you go there, it just looks like a desert and like bare rock, and like nothing lives there. And I'm sure flying your drone now, you will see that it's just like, you don't expect life, but it's so incredibly full of it. And so that's what that project is kind of about. And I'm really lucky because my husband has done a ton of exploring in the area. And so he kind of, for some parts that would be a little bit scary, he's going to be kind of like my guide, because he's done some of it, like going down the Green River, going down the Colorado River, that kind of stuff.
Very cool. Yeah.
So what are some species that you hope to find that you don't get to see?
Oh my gosh. So honestly, in that area, I've not seen a lot of wildlife, and it's been super challenging. So I'm always down to see desert bighorns. And I have seen some desert bighorns in that area, but it's not where I've ever gotten like a phenomenal photo or anything. And I've not ever been able to tell a story with that. The species that I guess I most want to see is the Canyonlands area specifically has its own species of tarantula. And I absolutely love tarantulas. They're very hard to find typically. I have to go there when I don't want to go there during a time of year I don't really want to go there for the best odds to see it. I love like finding snakes, rattlesnakes. I don't actually know the exact species of rattlesnakes that are there, but I do know that they have one or two. And then they do have black bears that wander through. And in my whole entire life, I have seen with my eyes all of 5 bears. And so I would absolutely love if I could see a bear in Canyonlands.
Hold up. You spend all year in the mountains and you've only seen 5 bears.
And one of those was down on the Mexican border, and one of them was in Minnesota, and one was in my yard here in Colorado. And so, I mean, I've seen like no bears ever. Every single bear I've seen but one has been a blonde bear.
Oh, wow.
And so I mean, I'm really great at spotting wildlife. And my husband too, he's maybe seen one more bear than me. It's the animal I have the least amount of luck with. So I'm really hoping that I could see a bear in Canyonlands.
If I make it to where I want to make it this weekend, I might see 10 in a day.
I can't even imagine. Like, that's so wild. Everyone posting in like Yellowstone and all that kind of stuff. I can't even fathom it. I've only, like, obviously, I think it goes without saying, I've only seen black bears. And so I just can't even fathom seeing a grizzly bear, a bear bigger than a black bear. Because when I saw a black bear, I was like, dang, that thing is huge. So, yeah, bears really seem to be quite evasive of me.
That's kind of wild, actually, because all the time you spend in the outdoors, I would think you'd probably seen more truly wild bears than most other people, you know? So
No, it's I've had one encounter that was like way too close of an encounter, and it was like very not cool. And I would say that's like the only wild bear, like really wild bear interaction that I've ever had. Everything else has been car-based or at my home.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is, because I know there's tons of bears where I live. And like my neighbors and like people in the area have like trail cams that pick up bears in their driveways and stuff. And we do not have that.
Now you got me wondering, what about mountain lions?
Have seen a lot of mountain lions.
Have you? Yeah. Okay.
Have seen tons of mountain lions, have been way too close to a couple mountain lions. There was actually, this is like a very type 2 fun moment. This probably 8 years ago, maybe. John and I were living in a different area in the mountains. And we were going for this little walk in the morning, and it was dark. We're really early morning people. And it was along like a mid-elevation mountain lake. And we had taken a corner walking around, and our headlights picked up just eyes, probably like 5 feet in front of us. And it was a mountain lion that had been drinking from the lake. And we had been walking like in the wrong way with the wind, where it didn't smell us, didn't hear us. And my husband took off running and just like abandoned me with this mountain lion that we were like, no joke, like 5 feet away from it. It was super, super weird. And it took a couple steps, like not towards me, but like turning its body to be like, what is going on? And I did the thing of like really slowly backing up. But that is definitely the closest I've ever been to a mountain lion, and I hated it. and it was just right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I see mountain lions a lot. We have a mountain lion that lives on our property and sometimes has kittens and stuff. And
Oh, very cool. Yeah. That's so funny because that's the one that most people, they're lucky if they see one in their entire lifetime, you know?
yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I don't, I have some video of the one that lives on our property, but because it lives here and I know it lives we don't live by people really, but it's enough where if word got out, I think
right.
that our county might not like it very much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really take photos of it or anything. We don't see it a ton. Whenever we see it, it's going after deer that are on our property.
No.
Or we see the kitten tracks if it does like a spring snow.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff that you're doing, you're on public land, correct?
Everything. I would say 99.9%.
So you guys were, when I got on finally, having a little trouble with the software, you guys were having a conversation about public lands and the threat to public lands that's going on right now. And you'll be happy to know that the House just killed it.
Oh, they did. Oh my gosh, I've been watching that all day.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's good news.
That's such good news. Let's hope that the good news keeps coming on that.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous that there would even be a consideration to sell off our public lands.
From so many people, too.
From so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I always am embarrassed that I live in Utah, and Utah is one of the biggest offenders, the ones that kind of drove this whole thing and brought it up, and they're constantly trying to sell off our public lands here in Utah, and it's just so frustrating.
It's wild. I can't imagine. And I live in Colorado, and while I would say almost everyone thinks Colorado is really well protected, no, it's not. This is all federal.
Right.
Like, if things are federal, it doesn't matter at all. And so Coloradans, don't be complacent, because this is definitely a federal, countrywide thing, not state by state. Yeah, that's such good news. Thank you for telling us that, Ron.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
But to that point, and we were kind of mentioning it before, I think this is something that's worth just kind of spend a little bit of time on. But we haven't really talked about it much on the podcast, but I think it's important for everybody to be super engaged and involved and aware of these issues that threaten our public lands, because it affects all of us. And I think there's a lot of people that don't really think about it affecting them, and they don't realize that it does. They don't realize that potentially the spot they go camping on right now that they don't even realize is quote unquote public land, or they don't have an understanding of how it works, could be gone if they're not paying attention. And I think it's critical for people to be thinking about that, considering that when they're voting, calling your senators and congressmen and, making a stink about it and telling them how you feel about it, being super engaged. There's lots of organizations out there, whether you come from a hunting background, a photography background, a hiking, outdoors background, whatever it is, kayaking, you on and on, however you're engaged with the outdoors, there's organizations out there that will, if you're following them, will make you aware of these things and how to contact people and how to, fight back. This is one of those topics where if you don't really feel comfortable with politics, if you've never been involved with politics, if you've never called your representatives, written letters, gone to a protest, this is one of those times and one of those issues where it's such an easy way to start dipping your toes and experiencing what it means to be an American and making your voice heard. I think as Americans, we're so spoiled, especially us out west, where we don't even comprehend that everything is public land. And it's waters, it's lands, it's mountains, it's deserts, it's everything outside pretty much. I know I can only speak for where I live and have lived. It's all public land. My backyard is public land, literally. And man, to imagine that going away, to imagine that being drilled for oil, or even to have houses built there. Right. Cabins and
it's so
whatever.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. So this is one of those things where it's really not political. They make it political because the people in charge are in politics, but this is not political. This is what being an American's all about. So it's time to get into politics, I guess, if you've never done that before.
Yeah, the article that I read said House Republicans killed the bill, but trust me, there's people on both sides that are trying to do this, trying to get this done, and we've got to make sure that we think about those kind of things. Just as you say, you know, don't want to get political on this show, but vote your conscience and vote your, you know, vote with your heart. Because
think about your kids.
Yep. And the other thing that we don't think about, especially in North America, so U.S., Canada, even Mexico, very often is that the wildlife belongs to the people. The wildlife you go a lot of places in Europe, and the wildlife might belong to the crown, or the wildlife might belong to the government. In the North American model for big game management, the wildlife belongs to the people. And we've got to take on that responsibility as well, and make sure that we take care of, you know, the species that we do have, the resources that we do have, and you know, in everything that we do. And we as wildlife photographers, I think, sometimes are some of the biggest offenders if we're not careful and we don't put the wildlife first. So while we're on that topic, and then we'll get to happier things, I just want to throw that out. The wildlife belong to the people in North America, and the people are the ones that need to take care of them.
And I think it's worth saying, it's really easy with how kind of yucky the news has been lately. It's easy to kind of feel hopeless, but democracy only stops working if we, the people, stop making our voices heard and taking action. And so it's super, super important not to lose hope, because we are the hope. As individuals, we are the hope. And so make your voice heard, call your representatives. Super easy. You call a number, you say where you live, and you're going to be forwarded to voicemail. And so you just leave a voice message, and it takes all of 2 minutes. And so it does matter. It really does.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Yeah, I used to think I wanted to be the guy that was just left alone, and, you know, these things won't affect me or whatever. And
me too.
You know, and that's a long time ago. But whether it's with, you know, anything to do with public lands, we all can agree on a couple things, right? We all can come together as people, whatever background you're coming from. We all want our wildlife, we all want clean water, and we all want clean air. I mean, it's really that simple. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever side. If you're not, none of the above, doesn't matter. We all can relate with that. So, yeah, I think that's a good point, Deirdre. Just get involved, whatever side or however you want to vote. You should get involved.
And it has been nice seeing everyone come together, I have to say.
Right.
Like, as somebody who's like firmly in the middle of all these different kinds of people, it's wonderful, you know? Right. We all have so much more in common than we have differences, and this is really exemplifying that.
100%. Yep.
Common ground for our public ground. Hey, whoa! There's a T-shirt.
Yeah, look at that.
There's a T-shirt in there somewhere.
Slogan.
So let's go back to the wintertime.
Okay.
Because I think, that was one of the things that we were going to talk about is the wintertime projects, the winter camping, the winter work that you're doing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So in winter, I try as hard as I can to get into the Alpine as long as I can. This is where I live, is like the snowiest part of Colorado. And so it definitely has its season. And then when the season changes, I work in Utah, or I work in Arizona. So this year, the 24 to 25 winter, I was really, really working super hard in Utah, starting that project that I had talked about. But in previous years, I have been working down in Arizona. And that's like the second place that my heart lives, is down in the Sonoran Desert. And my projects down there revolve around the Madrean Sky Islands, which are, if you know anything about them, they're just like completely separate mountain ranges that are completely disconnected from one another because of the Sonoran Valley floor. which basically means each sub-mountain range, well, not sub-mountain range, each mountain range has completely different species, has like its own endemic species that can be found nowhere else, has its own biomes. And so I've been studying those and putting together stories about why they're important, because Arizona is very much like Utah, where public lands are concerned. And so it's really important to kind of show why they're so important. And especially as you get closer to the Mexican border, it gets like a little bit dicey with what's going on for all of these critters. But yeah, so my Sky Island project is actually probably the biggest winter project that I've ever had. Because that really pushed me. I can backpack my heart out in the mountains of Colorado and the Rockies. I feel very at home. But when you're dealing with desert mountains and totally different terrain, totally different biomes, wow, is that something super gnarly. And so that project wrapped really recently. I would say that it pretty much wrapped when this winter started. And I'm really excited. I have a story coming out in National Wildlife Magazine about it this July. That kind of is going into what I did and why I did it, and kind of showing why they're so unique, why they're so special. I find that living in the United States, a lot of people have no idea what's going on in Arizona, in southern Arizona. And so I'm hoping that this can really shine a light on how absolutely amazing it is for wildlife photographers, for hunters, for anyone who loves a challenge. Oh my gosh, southern Arizona is just like this next level place. Have either of you been?
No, the only reason I know anything about the Sky Islands is from your posts, and then it
really?
Yeah, and then it made me curious, and so I did some research after that. But
okay,
quite honestly, that piqued my interest a bit, so I had to kind of look into it, and then so Coos deer,
yep,
down there, and
they have Coos deer, whitetail deer, and mule deer, all in different Sky Islands.
Okay,
yeah, no, it's so nuts. It's, I think, so, I mean, I wasn't like going out with like, I need to find this species. I was going out I was basically, traversing the longest length of each range and just seeing, if I spend all this time here looking for wildlife as I'm backpacking, what am I going to see? And keeping species lists like that, I saw over 400 species. And I broke it down by range. And I mean, the most surprising thing is that there's some ranges that they say are more biodiverse than others. And then there's some that people don't really talk about. And the ones that people don't really talk about, I found to be so much more rich with biodiversity than the ones that were claimed to be so biodiverse. I think, Arizona can be like a deceptive place where, very much like Canyonlands, where you think it's just very barren. But if you spend days on end backpacking and living in those places, the wildlife comes out at night. And oh my gosh, it's mind blowing. You guys would love it. If you guys like Costa Rica and Central America, you get a lot of those species that come up, and it's the northernmost range for them.
Wow.
It's just absolutely, you can probably tell, like, I'm very passionate about it. I love southern Arizona, and I will do whatever I can to spend like at least a few months there every year. It's just spectacular.
Okay, so did you find any jaguar tracks?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
Jaguarundi. If you've ever heard of a Jaguarundi.
I have, yeah.
Yep. So pick that up with a trail cam. That was amazing. I do have a buddy that has been in the Huachuca Mountains, which are one of the Sky Islands, and he's a professional tracker, and he is working super hard with some organization to find the jaguars down there.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Arizona State or the University of Arizona, but they had documented images of, jaguars in one of the ranges. I don't know which one, but
so there's a couple. I work with the Sky Island Alliance. This is like the coolest volunteer thing I've ever done. I think I'm one of the people that goes through all of their trail cam photos. And I just go through thousands upon thousands of these photos from like multiple ranges. And so I'm trying to find a jaguar for them. And I haven't seen one yet, but I have seen the photos that they have gotten in previous years. And then where I was living in Arizona, my home base, that actually was where like the furthest north one that they recently have spotted came to, and was, unfortunately, I believe he was hit by a car. But yeah, I mean, and that's pretty far north. That's north of Tucson.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just amazing. And there's a lot of Central American animals that you can find in those mountain ranges. It's spectacular.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think that it was part of their historical range, but to see them back is exciting. But having been around them now, they are a voracious predator. They just they don't have to work too hard at it. They're just very, very good at what they do. So it'll be interesting to see if they reestablish.
There's one range. I don't know if I should name it. There's one range, and it's mostly, I won't. It's privately owned, almost all of it. It's like one of those kinds of spots. And there is, it's pretty much known that there is one male that lives there. So it's pretty neat. And it's like one of those circumstances where like, maybe I am kind of glad that it's private land because the owner of said land seems to be taking care of that cat.
Nice.
Yeah.
You also, and I don't remember if you guys talked about this on the last time you were on or not, but one of the coolest aurora shots that I've ever seen took place this winter just because the aurora pushed so far south. While you were in the mountains down there, it pushed
2
so
nights in a
far
row
south that you got, and again, I don't remember, maybe you guys already talked about this, but tell us a little bit about that. Because you got
oh my gosh.
a foreground element that I don't think I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
Aurora shot.
So that was a crazy night. I was not in that biome when my Northern Lights alert on my phone went off. I was up in the subalpine up on Mount Lemon, which is like 30 miles from where a saguaro cactus would be. And I called my husband and I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to be in the subalpine right now. Like, I don't want to be in the Ponderosa. I want to be like down in the desert. And so that was a super long day of getting back down to the desert. And so he met me, cause I was a little bit nervous. It's a little bit treacherous sometimes being alone in the desert. Yeah. And so he met me and he was all set and we were both like really stoked. And both of us have like never seen the Northern Lights like bright before because we've only seen them from Colorado. Mm-hmm. And so we were waiting and waiting. And then we kind of started seeing some flickering in the sky. And it was just like, no way. Like, there's no way that this is happening. And we got our cameras kind of not in focus, but just like the exposure set where we could pick it up. And it was just pink. And you could see columns. And so we got all set up with our compositions and spent like a solid 3 hours just shooting the most vivid Northern Lights. And yes, you could see them with the naked eye a little bit. It was just one of the most surreal times ever. And the forecast for the next night also looked really promising. And so we spent a little bit of time in the area, looking the next day in the morning, looking for compositions that would be totally different. And that next day, the colors were so different. So the first night we had like pinks and it was like red. There was so much red. And then the next night it was all the purples and greens and yellows. And oh my gosh, it was like the most, I think, in disbelief I've ever been. Yeah, that was so unexpected. And just that whole project, when I was working on it, felt like a kind of a fever dream, because it was one of the first projects as a full-time photographer that I was able to say, like, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's going to work. It's going to work or it's going to fail, but like, this is what I'm investing into this. And it was a 9-month long project. And this happened, I think, during the second or third month of it. And that was after seeing Gila monsters and like seeing all these things that I didn't think would actually happen, but I was like hoping really would happen. So to see the Northern Lights, it was just like so unreal. Just couldn't, and I couldn't have been in a better place for it either.
Right.
Because
The fact you were there to see it and capture it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was something else. And just like one of those core memories, I think when I'm on my deathbed, I will definitely go back to the Sonoran Desert with the Northern Lights.
Yeah. How cool. So unique.
Yeah. Yeah. And not the first night, not too many people saw it. It was just us crazy photographers who like had some hope. But the second night, more people went out and it wasn't as vivid, but it was still super beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our friend Manuel saw him in Texas, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he was in Texas. I don't think he was on the road, but
Yeah, I think he was in
we'd have
Texas.
to check. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just incredible how many people that far south were able to view aurora and see them with the naked eye, to a degree, like you described, but holy smokes.
No, that was fun. That was one of those, I feel like there's so few moments in like the past decade where like the whole world kind of comes together over something. And that was definitely one of those times where it was just like, everyone is seeing this and everyone just like gets to experience magic that like, I don't know, so many people are just inside people and don't really experience the magic of the outdoors. And even they got to experience the Northern Lights that night. So just spectacular.
I didn't.
You did.
I was in a stinking hotel room right in the middle of Salt Lake City, and then I flew out to Pennsylvania for work and got out there, and it was overcast for like 4 days. So, yeah, nothing.
Oh, my God. Jason, did you see them?
I did, but I did not photograph them. I just wasn't in a good place to photograph them. So,
oh my gosh.
But I mean, trust me, I wanted to be. It wasn't going to happen. But I mean, it was incredible to see all the people's images from all over the place, from the Tetons, from, just places you wouldn't normally see the Northern Lights, obviously. And there was just some really cool stuff that happened. And you're right. It brought a lot of people together for sure. So,
yeah, that was really cool. Hopefully we'll have a night like that this year. I know like it's not going to be the same as that, but like, I know I have a forecast that's like a 6 on whatever the scale is, for like next Sunday. So next Sunday, you guys, the Northern Lights might come out.
Still it's gotta be a 7 to push as far south as us. But, and I think those 2 nights, it was almost 9.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're talking about the KP index, but I got educated on the aurora, and it's the gamma waves or whatever is the one you really need to watch. But I got spoiled also being up in Churchill and having it like right on top of your head.
I can't fathom that. Yeah. I absolutely can't.
Jason had his head shaved really short, and so I was able to photograph that was my foreground reflection element.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. That it's such a cool thing. The most bright I've seen them was actually this past autumn. I was up at 13,000 feet in the Alpine over in the Sangre de Cristo mountain range. And at about 8 o'clock on the dot, they came out, and it was like seeing them how you do up in northern places, where it was totally visible with the naked eyes, and it was like columns everywhere. It was all pink. And I mean, it was so wild to just see them and know that they were there. And there were other backpackers that were kind of near me. And I tried to tell them, and they didn't even get out of their tents.
Wow.
Couldn't be bothered. I couldn't believe it. I was so offended.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious. How is this not a thing for you, right? Like, come on. Are you
Right.
kidding me?
Like, I'm literally telling you this in the dark. Like, it means something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever been to Alaska?
No.
Oh, man.
I have not. I will say I feel like for how much I'm outside and how much wildlife I have experienced, I'm not super well traveled.
It's because you travel on foot, Deirdre.
Yeah. Yep, totally. And there's something about that I really love, because you get to really know things in depth.
Yeah.
But trust me, Alaska is on my list. But it's definitely, like, I've never been around bears before. So it's definitely like one of those things where I'm just like, oh, I don't know how I'd approach that. Like, that seems really sketchy.
Yeah.
But because I would want to do it on foot.
Right.
And I have a couple friends that have done some stuff on foot there, but it absolutely terrifies me. Like, thinking about even going backpacking, like up in the Tetons, I'm just kind of like, I don't think I want to do that.
Just go in the wintertime, shoot the aurora, go to some good eagle spots. Cool. And then you and John can do like 6 hours of advertising for cold base gear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Oh my gosh. No, that's actually a really good idea. We have this tent that we use in winter that has a wood burning stove in it. And it's just like a little pyramid tent with a wood burning stove. And I feel like that would be so perfect under the aurora.
Oh man.
It's like the perfect thing. And I've always wanted to photograph collared pikas. And that's like definitely where I'd go to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
you
easy
would
up
be
there.
like a kid in a candy store. There's no doubt in my mind. But.
Yeah. And every year, I can't think of their names. It's Bear Guides up there, and they do we're doing a giveaway of one of our like big workshops. And I always enter it every year.
Scott Stone.
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
Scott
I enter
Jackie.
it, and I enter it hopefully. Haven't won it yet, but maybe someday.
Yeah, it's
Fingers
something to
crossed.
do that for sure.
We had a guy that we've known for quite a while, listener of the old podcast and this one, Derek Gerald, won it this year.
Wow.
So
it is real. So they do give it away.
It absolutely is real. In fact, the kid that won it last year is working for him this summer.
Yep.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's a neat deal.
First time he went to do bears was on that trip, and it changed his life so much, and he was so impacted by it. He's now a bear guide for him. So
Wow. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, that's one of the places I've got to get to, and it definitely is on the list. I have a very short list of places that I like reasonably would like decide to make the move and like go there, and that's definitely in the top 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're doing what your heart's focused. I mean, you definitely got your projects, and you're, so passionate about them. I mean, even if you never did, I don't think it would really crush you too much. You know what I mean? I think it'd be an incredible experience, but you've got so much going on, and it's so fun to see your projects starting to come together, and, you're just so committed to it too. I just love your passion. And like I said, watching your stories, it's fun to watch all the different stories and the critters you're seeing. And you again, I think we talked about this last time, you focus on the little things. So many people just walk on the trail and don't even look down really. They're just looking ahead, and you stop and take those things in. And I don't know, it's so fun to follow along. And, the stories you're telling are important. Right. And
thank you.
The projects you're working on are important too. So it's just really fun to follow along. And again, like if you're not following along, you really should be. They're really fun to just kind of be there, live there, see it vicariously through you. So
thank you. I'm this year is going to get like kicked up a notch with the noticing small things. I'm working on like a short pollinator story for the Alpine. So if you have any interest in bugs, I'm definitely going to be seeing what I can see for pollinators with alpine wildflowers. I've always wanted to do like a wildflower project up in the alpine. I'm not like much of a flower person, but I do appreciate them. So this year is the year that I've decided to spend some time looking at what's happening with the flowers.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I got to say, though, there's a PhD project in here somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
That's so funny.
Well, it is and it isn't. I think there's a lot of work that you're doing that nobody's done.
So that's when I started working with Pikas, when I realized like nobody really was in this way. It was like a lot of classroom kind of stuff. I barely even graduated high school. And so to be like working with people that are so highly educated, to me, it always makes me laugh, because I'm just like, that's like so like, I'm educated in the outdoors and wildlife, but like certainly not where school is concerned. So I love that I'm like getting mine by doing what I love.
You know who else did that?
Who?
Jane Goodall.
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't think about that.
She got a PhD just based on the work that she did in the field. It was,
wow.
I mean, she took copious amounts of notes and documented
Right.
everything, but you're doing that as well. Not only documenting it photographically and visually, but also documenting, the gathering the data on those colonies and things like that, and the distribution. And
You know, something so cool that happened. This was very shortly after I published my book about my field notes with the American Pika. That is now a book that is in like research libraries around the world.
Oh, cool.
And I was contacted by somebody out of like Berkeley, I think, that they were adding it to their research library. And then it started getting picked up. And now I can see it when it sells to research libraries around the world. And it's so weird. That's my field notes. That's like just
so go
so
ahead
basic.
and say it, Ron. You are correct. There is a project in there.
Oh, Ron, you're so correct. No,
Thank
it's
you.
wild. And it's really amazing what can happen when you kind of go after your dreams, and with an open heart and a little bit of foolishness, but a lot of passion. Because everything I'm doing, everyone but my husband always told me I would never do and couldn't do. And so it's very cool when things start to actually fall into place. And it's just like, see, I said that this would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And guess
life is
what
weird like that.
PhD
All
candidates don't do?
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't volunteer. They get
Right.
paid for that stuff.
Yep. No, it's interesting. I'm still young, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just never know.
You may not have the book smarts or the degree or the piece of paper to back it up, but you have more knowledge about the subject you're passionate about than most biologists, ever would.
It's interesting, right?
Right. So
You get, as you get older, you really kind of see that is as important as anything else.
right.
And for me, that's like this whole time where the imposter syndrome has kind of been, is like, oh, like people are going to take me seriously like this. Like it's just from the smallest things that you are told in school to the bigger things. It's just like, oh, wow. Like the playing field really gets leveled when you spend so much time doing things.
Right. Yeah. That's so
100%.
cool. Well, Deirdre, tell us a little bit about where people can find all this cool information about you. I know we talked about it last time, but just real quick before you go there, if you haven't listened to the previous podcast, go listen to it, because Deirdre has a crazy like backstory too of how she came up into this. We touched on that in the last one, but listening to both of these at the same time would be really good for the listeners to, make sure they've got the complete story, because it's an incredible story. And the diversity in that you've gone through and so on and so forth to be where you are today. It's incredible. It's very inspiring.
Thank you.
But just maybe tell everybody where they can find all the cool stuff you're working on.
Sure. So my website is definitely where you can kind of deep dive into stuff. That is going to be DeirdreDenaliPhotography.com. I am on Patreon if you can't get enough. And that's under the same name, Deirdre Denali Photography. Instagram, Deirdre Denali Photography. And then a lot of people are interested like in the type 2 fun of things that I do. And so they want to know about the gear that I use and like all that sort of stuff. And so I have started a gear review and like stewardship for outdoor recreators website. And that is called southwesthikes.com. And so that is just kind of about gear that I like and adventures you can have and how to take care of our public lands when you are outside having fun.
That's so cool. One thing we have to touch on before I let Ron do anything else. One of the big things that I was so impressed with, and I continue to be impressed with, is your focus on trying to pick up after others when you're in the field. If I remember right, I don't remember the numbers, but maybe we can get an update. But you're always carrying trash off the mountain.
Yep.
And it's not like a little, it's significant.
Yeah, I think I'm at almost 20,000. Nope, that's a different number. I think I'm at maybe like almost 15,000 pounds. I've been doing this since 2018 that I've been keeping track. And so just always carry some Ziploc bags to put trash in. Sometimes if you really want to kick it up a notch, what you need to do is carry like a strap so you can strap stuff to the outside of your backpack. Because sometimes you find like crazy stuff outside where it's just like, how did this toilet seat get up this mountain?
Oh, yeah.
So you can just strap it onto the back of your pack like it's no big deal and hike it out.
Somebody had a phobia.
Right? Yes, it's the easiest way to be a steward, is just if you see trash, if you see a bag of dog poop, whatever, just pack it out. It's no big deal. That's such a simple way that we all can take care of our public lands and special places.
I would challenge any Boy Scout group to match the 8 tons that you've packed off the mountain.
Right? And that's the thing too. Make it a game. Try to beat me.
Yeah,
I bet nobody can. I bet absolutely no one can. Try.
Yeah.
There's got to be a Guinness Book of World Records there too. I don't know how you document it, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's obvious you're living by example and leading by example, and that goes a long, long way. So I think it's an inspiration. But
I appreciate that. Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on for sure.
Absolutely. I love what you guys are doing, by the way. I feel like wildlife photography can be weird, just being on social media and like exclusively on social media. But there's like real people behind all of these photos and accounts. And it's so much fun being able to get to know people better and kind of, whenever you do have repeat guests on, it's fun taking a deeper dive into that person's story. It's really great. So I'm always happy to be on and always excited to listen.
Yeah, it's fun to have you. And yeah, we got to take a little bit of a deep dive into a couple of your additional projects this time, and not necessarily get the backstory, but we're getting things moving forward, and we look forward to watching you walk the stage with your PhD
and your Guinness Book of World Records
and the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
Would truly know a celebrity now. So thank you all for listening, and please check us out at beyondthewildpodcast.com, Beyond the Wild Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you hit up Pictureline, get in on the tail end of the great sales that they had during PhotoEx, and make sure next May you plan on being there at PhotoEx Outdoors, and hopefully we'll get to meet you all there. It's worth the trip to Salt Lake to be able to hear the people that you get to hear, and just be a part of an event like that, number one, and number two, get some great sales. Just as a side note, and spend money that you didn't intend to spend, like Jason and I probably did. So thank you all, and we look forward to being on here next time. Beyond the Wild podcast. Have a good week.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.